We are from Monstertrainings.com. So today I'm going to explain about performance testing tools and what we are going to cover in performance testing training. So what is basically performance testing, or what is basically software testing? So software testing is a process of evaluating a system by manual or automatic means and verifying that it satisfies specified requirements. So basically software testing is categorized into two parts. One is functional testing, the other one is non-functional testing. In functional testing, basically we'll cover system testing, integration testing, regression testing, UAT. In non-functional testing, we cover performance testing, security testing, usability testing, and internationalization and localization testing. So functional testing is like verifying the complete functionality of the application according to the business use cases. Functional testing is like done as manual and automation testing. So manual testing is, as we know, like test case will be written and the test case will be verified and its status will be updated as pass or fail. Automation testing, to reduce the manual effort, automation testing got introduced, and there are various tools available in the market. Few of them are Q2P, Silk Test Tool, Windrunner, Ration Robot, etc. etc. So in non-functional testing we have performance testing. So as we are going to discuss about performance, I am mainly focusing on performance testing. So in performance testing we have tools like LoadRunner from HP, Silk Performer from Micro Focus, Ration Robot or Ration Performance Tester from IBM, Neoload, OpenStage, Emitter, WebLoad, etc. So basically, what is a performance testing? Why we require performance testing? The performance testing is a process of determining the speed or effectiveness of a server, network, software program or device. So we are going to measure the speed of the server, the speed of the network, and the behavior of the program whichever written, the software. So using performance testing, we can find out the reason for the response, delay in the response. Is it causing network or program or any problem with the hardware resources? So why we are going to do performance testing? See, to overcome the response slow, application is responding slow, so we need to identify why application is responding slow. To overcome these kind of issues, we'll go to performance testing. Unable to support X number of users. For example, we have launched a site, it is able to accept 100 users, but beyond 100 users the SLA is not matching. Means if 100 users are accessing the site, logged into the server, then it's giving response below 5 seconds for each request, but whenever the users count is crossed 100, then it is response time is beyond 5 seconds. So we can say the application is supporting only 100 users. Beyond 100 it is not satisfying the SLA. Server stops responding. So the server is, for 100 users, server is giving the response as per SLA. For 200, server response is not matching the SLA. But even though the beyond 200, for example, the requests coming more than 300 or 400 at the time, server responding itself is stopped. So server is not working. To overcome these kind of problems, we do performance testing. Application unstable due to performance issues. So when server is not responding, obviously the system will be hanged, the application will be hanged. So user have very bad experience. So to overcome these things, we'll come into the performance testing. Then what are the challenges in performance testing? So adopting a performance testing methodology and tool dependency, data collection and maintenance, comparing performance of multiple software builds, tool procurement cost. So before going to performance testing, we need to identify the methodology. According to the client requirement, according to the site requirement, we need to adopt the suitable methodology. Tool dependency. All of the performance tools are not capable enough to do performance testing for all applications. Applications are developed in different technologies like Java, .NET, SAP, or PHP. So all applications are not suitable with all of the performance tools. We need to identify the suitable performance testing tool for that application. Doing a POC, we can identify the suitable performance testing tool for that application. Data collection and maintenance. We need to collect the data of different tests, and we need to maintain. And when we are doing performance testing, sometimes we require huge amount of data as test data, so these we need to maintain. And comparing performance of multiple software builds. So we have conducted a test and we found some bottlenecks. The bottlenecks are fixed, and again we have conducted one more round of performance test. So we need to compare the results of both the builds. Tool procurement cost. So in performance testing, major part of the cost will be involved for procurement of tool. So we need to consider, at the time of POC, we need to consider the tool cost also. These are the challenges we can come across in performance testing. Benefits. What are the benefits we are going to have once we have completed performance testing for application before going to launch? Reducing the server downtime. So if we verify how many users it's going to capable, so we are expecting, if it is going to down by 300 users and we are expecting 500 users, then we'll arrange the hardware resources it is capable to handle 500 users. Reducing application response time. So we can reduce application response time. For example, we have SLA below 5 seconds. So we'll verify for 200, 300, 400 the expected user load, how much response time it is giving, and we'll tune the application to match SLA for the respected user load. Capacity planning. So we'll verify the hardware resources capacity, and if required we'll increase the hardware resource capacity. Meeting SLA. So all together we are doing to meet SLA. So for example, whatever the user load or response time and hardware resources, all these SLAs will be meted once we complete the performance testing and application tuning is completed. Altogether we are going to reduce the response time, so user have a better experience, and reducing the server downtime. So now I'm going to explain the performance testing or engineering methodology. What are the phases involved in performance testing, and what are the phases we are going to cover in our online training? I'm going to explain in this slide. So performance testing is mainly divided into the following categories: requirements gathering, planning phase, designing phase, execution, analysis, and reporting phase. So what are the things we do in requirements gathering phase? What are the activities involved in requirements gathering phase? So requirements gathering phase, we'll send a questionnaire to the customer. That questionnaire will contain about the application details and software stack details and the hardware resources details, architecture of the application, what type of test the customer is expecting, and what is the user load they are expecting currently, and after the downline 2 years or 3 years, what is the user load they are expecting. These all details, with these all details asking, we'll send a questionnaire to the customer. Once we receive the filled up the answers provided questionnaire, we'll review the requirements. After that, gain the application, understanding the functionality and functionally and technically. So after getting the requirements, we'll try to gain the application knowledge. So we'll understand the application functionally as well as technically. So functionally in the sense what the application is intended to do, and technically in the sense what are the technology involved in that application and what is the complete details like architecture and the hardware resources. All these details will be involved in the technically. Conduct a POC for tool feasibility as required. So if it's not required for all of the performance testing engagements, but some of the performance testing engagements require a POC to verify the tool feasibility. We'll do a small POC, proof of concept, and we'll verify the particular tool is feasible with that application or not, and we'll confirm. For example, the customer will come and says like, we wanted to use JMeter as its open source tool. We are not ready to go for any licensed tool like HP LoadRunner or Micro Focus Silk Performer. At the time, we'll do a POC and we'll verify. We'll say customer, if it is feasible, we'll say it is feasible. Otherwise, we'll say it's not feasible for the application. We have completed one scenario and these are the challenges we come across in POC. We'll show the proof to the customer. So out of requirements gathering phase, the deliverables will be requirements documents. So after completing the requirements gathering phase, we'll find requirements gathering will be the final output. The next phase would be planning phase. So in planning phase, identify the business flows and workload. So what do you mean by identifying business flows? Business flows in the sense, in an application we have so many business flows, but we cannot do performance testing for all of the business flows. We need to identify what are all the important business flows and what are all the business flows customers will be used most or frequently. Like for example, if you take any of the e-commerce site, most of the customers will visit the site. First, their action is searching any product. Whatever product they are looking, they'll search. But all the persons who search the product, they're not going to purchase the product. So search is mostly used functionality and order the product. Once we have added a product and then we go for order. So order page will be used, not that much used. So the users will be less in orders page comparatively search page. So like that, we need to identify the maximum users visited business flow. Accordingly, we need to distribute the workload. So here we are talking about workload distribution. So what do you mean by workload distribution? Workload distribution means, for example, we are going to do a performance testing with 500 users. Then we have identified 5 scenarios. Then how we can distribute the 500 load to these 5 flows? For example, we cannot give equal virtual users for each business flow. Like 500 users, we have 5 scenarios or 5 business flows. We cannot give 100 to each business flow. We need to identify what is the important scenario, what is the most users visited scenario. For the scenario, we need to give 20-30%, and the scenario which is not visited mostly, for that we can give even 5% or 10% also. Like that, we need to distribute the load. Then define the project scope. So in planning phase, we need to clear idea about the project, what we are going to do and what we are going to achieve. From performance testing, what is possible and what is not possible. We need to clearly give the details to the customer. For example, we are doing a performance testing of an application. That application have some third-party dependencies, some third-party tools. So we cannot tune third-party tools, or we cannot measure the response time of third-party tools. That is not into the scope. We need to clearly mention to the customer, this part cannot be scope. This part we cannot test and we cannot give any recommendations for fine-tuning. So like that, we need to define the scope of the performance testing. Then preparation of test plan or strategy. So in test plan, we need to give the entire details of the testing we are going to conduct, objective, and like what are the tools we are going to use, and what is the dates we are going to use, how many phases we are going to perform, what is the test data we require, what are the deliverables, what are the risks and assumptions. So we need to define each and every point very clearly in test plan. Then we need to have the last one, define entry and exit criteria. So with what we are going to entry to the project and what we are going to exit the criteria. So the final exit criteria would be delivering the final report to the customer. So deliverable from planning phase is performance test plan or strategy. Then the next phase is designing. So what are the activities we'll perform in designing? In designing phase, performance environment setup. So what do you mean by performance environment setup? We need to verify the performance environment. Is it equal to the production or it's less than production? If it is less than production, then we have to apply extrapolation algorithm. So like that, we need to identify the performance environment, and we need to prepare the performance environment as per the test we are going to conduct. Then test data creation. So we need to create the test data, because in performance testing, load testing, we require huge test data. If there is any like if the system will accept only unique data. For example, we are going to display the policy numbers of an insurer for an insurance company application. So the policy number we cannot pump duplicate one. So we need to have the unique policy number to submit to the system. So in that case, if you are doing 500 user load test, we require huge amount of test data. So we have to create the test data. Then performance testing scripts. So we have to create the performance testing scripts. We have to create the performance testing script. Then we need to do the required manual enhancements into the performance testing script. The required manual enhancements are like parameterization, correlation, or if we need to add any other code, we need to add, and we need to complete the scripts. Creating monitoring framework. So when we are doing performance testing, what is our monitoring framework? What are the points we are going to cover? We need to have the complete details of the framework, like hardware resources, or what the console we are using, JConsole, or if you are using any Dyna Trace, or we are going to use any application monitoring tool. So we need to have the clear details. The designing the performance scenario. So we need to find out the scenarios. What are the scenarios we are going to cover in the performance testing? Conduct a smoke test. So before procuring the license, we need to have a smoke test with 5 or 10 users on each script, and we have to verify like all the scripts are working fine, and we can upload the scripts into controller and we can do the performance testing. Test readiness review. So after completing all of the above activities, we need to verify test readiness review, and we feel that it's comfortable, then we can stop that phase. So the deliverables in designing phase are performance test scripts and performance environment. Then the next phase is execution, analysis, and reporting. So in execution, we'll execute performance tests according to the design scenario workload distribution. After that, we'll collect the results of performance metrics. Then the major part of the performance testing will come into picture, that is analysis and reporting. So the entire performance testing is dependent on analysis and reporting. So after collecting all the results, we need to analyze test results and performance metrics. Then we have to create a performance test report. We need to analyze like is there any bottleneck in the system, or what are the areas we need to fine tune. All the details will be discussed in analysis, and based on that one, the performance test report will be created. The outcome of the analysis phase is high-level report and detailed performance analysis report. High-level report will be published to the stakeholders. Once the test is completed, immediately a high-level report will be published, and the detailed analysis report will be taken some time to analyze all the counters details. It's based on the time will be taken based on the servers involved in the performance test, and detailed performance analysis report will be prepared and published to the stakeholders. So this is the performance testing engineering methodology. We are going to cover each and every phase in detail in the online training. If any of the extra material required, or if any of the extra points required to discuss, we can have a separate classes and analysis for the different tools. If any monitoring tool is specifically required, like Dynatrace or Sidescope, we can have separate classes for Dynatrace and Sidescope and any other analysis tools. Now I'm going to explain about performance engineering process. So which will be the important one, and how we can achieve the performance testing. So after requirements gathering, we are going to define the scenario. Then we'll create performance scripts. After creating performance scripts, execute performance test. After that, application changes required. Based on the results, application changes required. There are no application changes required. The results are as per SLA, service level agreement. Then if there are no any changes required, we'll go to performance test report and we'll submit to the customer saying, boss, your application is perfectly alright, there are no modifications required. But if the application requires any changes, then the down arrow, look into the down arrow, server configuration changes required. So what we found that in performance testing time, the hardware resources are consumed a lot. It's more than the normal limit. In the time, what we'll say to the customer, boss, you need to increase the hardware resources, or any configuration parameters like JVM heap changes or WebSphere change, configuration changes. If you have any database configuration changes, if you are doing these changes, we'll recommend to the customer will perform the recommended changes. Then we'll go to the again execution phase, and performance tests will be executed and results will be verified. If the results are matching to the SLA, it's okay, then we'll go to the performance test report. This second category, the hardware configurations are pretty good. The hardware consumption is pretty good when the performance testing is conducted. But we found there is some problem with the code. Like we found there are some queries which are taking time which is more than expected, or there is any particular method which is taking time more than expected. Then we require a tuning of the application. So for that one, we'll recommend application tuning. In application tuning, code will be changed. If any code will be changed, then we'll go to the scripting phase. So here we need to verify the existing scripts are going to work, or we need to update the performance test scripts, because once the code is changed, then there's a probability the scripts will not be worked. So we need to verify. If required, we need to update the performance test scripts. After that, again execute the performance test and verify the results. If these are okay, then prepare a performance test report and submit to the stakeholders. So these are the things we are going to cover in performance testing, and we'll give each and every phase a clear idea, and we can provide soft copy of the material in these trainings. So from Monstertrainings.com, we are going to provide training for the following 4 performance testing tools: HP Load Runner, Microsoft Silk Performer, Microsoft VSTS, and Apache JMeter. The first 3, HP Load Runner, Silk Performer, VSTS, are the licensed tools, and Apache JMeter is an open source tool. If you have any queries, you can send out an email, contact us at monstertrainings.com. Thank you.